Didn't mean to be rude and mute you all, but got to do it at some point to get the service started. So as some of you were talking about before, welcome people both in the service here as well as those of you attending on Zoom. And as you all know, sometimes people plan and God laughs, and you were all talking about that. And so there are no rabbis here today. Rabbi Rosenthal is away for a much-deserved week off. And Rabbi Bluston, in theory, is trying to lead a service outside of Candler Park with some other synagogues, and hopefully either they are doing that and the weather holds up, or they'll find some good cover and they'll take care of that. That's in conjunction with, I know, Rabbi Root Wolpe, maybe with Shearith Israel as well. There were a couple other congregations involved. So falls on me to lead the service tonight. We will get started with the Mincha service on page 1 with the Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Onyel Chasella Ashrei Am Shekachalo Ashrei Am Shernai Elohav Tilal Ravi Ramikalam. Tehilat Tanai Daber Pivi Varech Kol Basar Shem Kodshel Moed Vanachnu Nevarech Yach Me'atav Yarolam Haloyach. We do not have a minyan live, at least yet, so we are going to continue with the Amidah. Please rise in body and spirit for that. We'll begin aloud on page 3b. We will skip the Kiddush on page 4, and then we'll continue silently pages 5 through 9, beginning on 3b. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hara El Elyon Gomel HaChasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol v'Zocher Chastei Avot U'Mevi Goel Livnei V'neihem L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava Melech Choser U'Forkedu Moshe U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham U'Forked Sarah Atah Gibor Elam Adonai Mechaye Metim Atarav Loshia Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechaye Metim Rachamim Rabim Zomech Noflim Rofei Cholim U'Matir Asurim U'Mekayim Emunato L'Shenei Afar Michamocha B'al Gevurot U'Mito Melach Melech Memirum Chaya U'Matzmiach Yeshua V'Ne'eman Ata L'Chayot Metim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechaye HaMetim Atah Kadosh Shemcha Kadosh Salah Baruch Atah Adonai HaKadosh.
Don't forget the prayers for Rosh Chodesh.
If you're still reciting the Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We will continue and remain standing for the Aleinu, page 11. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakola latet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kigoye aratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sama chalakenu kahem v'gahar aleinu kechol hamonam ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שנתן שמיים ויוצר הארץ משה ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. Those in mourning or observing a yard site, please remain standing. We ask those on Zoom to enable their microphones. We continue with Kaddish Yatom, page 12. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabah bi'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bagala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevarach v'olam lamei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata damiran ba'olma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. So Shabbat shalom, everybody. And for folks like me, I grew up in Baltimore, and of course, we never went to school before Labor Day. And that's, 6 weeks away. And yet here we are in Georgia, and we have a bunch of kids, including my stepdaughter and many others, starting school on Monday. So summer, whether the weather tells you that or not, is over, right? And so what you have is all these people going on vacation, and now everybody's coming back from vacation, going to meet their teachers, buying school supplies, and everybody's running around like crazy, getting ready as the school buses start taking up our roads again, in earnest on Monday morning, and the world returns to what I guess you could call normal. And so a lot of the vacations here are over, but the good news is God gives us a vacation every week. It's called Shabbat. And here we are, and we're about to start it. So, Rabbi Blesson always encourages us to take a deep breath at this time, and hopefully you can take a spiritually deep breath for 25 hours, because that's the length of Shabbat. And we will begin our Kabbalat Shabbat service on page 14 with Yedid Nefesh, which, if you look at the translation, begins soulmate, loving God, compassion's gentle source. Take my disposition and shape it to your will. Almost like a love song between the Jewish people and God. Yedid Nefesh, page 14. Yedid Nefesh Av harachaman משוך עבדך ארץ עונך, ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל, ישתחווה אל מול הדרך, ירב לו ידידותך, מנופת צוף וכל טעם, הדור נא את זיו העולם, נפשי חולת אהבתך, אנא אלנה רפאה לך, בהרות לך נועם זיווך, אז תתחזק ותתרפא, והייתה לך שפחת עולם, ותקיימו רחמך וחוסנה על בנו אהבך, כי זה כמה נחשוף נכסף, לראות בתפארת עוזך, אנא לי מחמד ליבי, חושנה ואל תתעלם, יגאלנה ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומך, תאיר ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, מהר אהוב כי במועד, וכונני כי ימי עולם. Yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 la la, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai. Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai, yalla lai. We continue on page 15. Let us sing to Adonai. Let us rejoice in our Creator. Lechu neranana, top of the page. Lechu neranana l'Adonai, nariya letzor yisheinu, nekadma fanav b'todah, bizmirot nariya lo, nekadma fanav b'todah, bizmirot nariya lo. Yagadol HaMelech HaKol HaShem. Arba'im shana kut bedor v'homaram to'ei levavheim v'heim lo yadu drachai asher nishbati b'yapi im yivon al menuchati Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru l'Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Pasru miyom le'yom, Yeshuato, Sapru v'goyim, Kevodo, Bechol ha'amim nifleotav, Ki gadol Adonai, Umehulal me'od, norahu, al kol Elohim, ay, ki kol Elohei, ha'amim elilim, v'Adonai, Shamayim asab, hod v'hadar, lefanav, oz v'tiferet, be'mikdasho, amul Adonai, mishpechot amim, amul Adonai, kavod va'oz, amul Adonai, kevod shemo, Sereu mincha, uvo lechatzrotav, ay, ishtachavu l'Adonai, behadra kodesh, chilu mipanav, kol haaretz, imru v'goyim, Adonai malach, aftikon tevel, bahalatimot, yadinamim, be'meisharim, yismechu hashamayim, betagel haaretz, yiram hayam, umelo, yalo sadai, v'chol asher bo, ay, az yiranenu, kol atzeyar, bifnei Adonai, kiva, lishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel, betzedek, ve'amim, be'emunato, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la, page 17. Adonai malach tagel haaretz, yismechuyim rabim. Anam reveal tzvivav t'numim. Or zaru ala tzadik, Ol Yisrael leif simechu tzadikim b'Adonai, mehodu lezecher kodsho. Page 18, Psalm 98. Mizmor shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, ki niflaot asav, Hoshia lo yemino, Uzero HaKodesho, Hodi Adonai Yeshuato, Le'enei Agoyim Gilat Tzidkato, Zachar Chasto Ve'emunato, Leveit Yisrael, Ra'u Chol Afsei Haaretz, Et Yeshuat Eloheinu, Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz, Pitzchu v'rannenu v'zameru, Zamru l'Adonai bechinor v'kol zimra, B'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, Hariu livnei hamelech Adonai, Yiram hayam umelo, Tevel v'yoshveiva, Neharot yimcha uchaf, Yachar harim yiranenu, Lifnei Adonai kiva, Kiva lishpot haaretz, Yishpot tevel betzedek, Ve'amim be'meisharim, Yalai, 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 yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la la yalla la la la, yalla la la yalla la la la, yalla la la yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la. Page 19. Adonai malach yergezu amim yoshev krivim tanura aretz. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'har kadesho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'har kadesho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Ramemu. Please rise as we continue with Psalm 29, Mizmor LaDavid. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but many of you may know today was the first of the month of Av. Not the happiest month on the Jewish calendar, I dare say the saddest month on the Jewish calendar. We began 3 weeks ago with the 17th of Tammuz, which is the beginning of the end of the temple. And then Tisha B'Av, which at the time marked the end of the temple. So we're in those 3 weeks right now. And many Jews follow different practices this time of year, particularly during these 9 days, whether it be swimming, not eating meat, various things that they don't do. So we'll take a little bit more of a mellow tone with this today than usual, but page 20, Mizmor LaDavid. Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim, El hakavod nehirim, Adonai al Ma'im Rabim, Kol Adonai Ba'koach, Kol Adonai Be'adar, Kol Adonai Shover Arazim, Vayeshaber Adonai et Arzei Halvanon, Vayarkineim kemo egel, Levanon ve'Sirion, Kemoven re'emim, Kol Adonai chotzei lamotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel layalot, Vayechesov ve'arot, Uvehechalo kulo omer kavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai os liamoitin, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Please be seated. Before we begin Lachado D, I mentioned that the beginning of the month of Av was today, so that means next week will be the 8th of Av. Saturday, technically, will be the 9th of Av. We don't observe Tisha B'Av on Shabbos. We observe it the next day. The 10th of Av becomes Tisha B'Av, which means the 9th of Av. Lachado D, the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av, is usually done to a very sad tune, Eli Tzion. It'll be part of what we sing for those of you that come to services here next Saturday night when we have our Tisha B'Av service, as well as Sunday morning. Eli Tzion. But I'll save that for next week for whoever has that, because that's Erev Tisha B'Av. So we'll try and pick it up a little bit with Lachado D, page 21. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela ay 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 lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela shamor vezachor bedimor echad ishmiyanu el hameyuchad Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, L'shemo l'tiferet ve'elitila, L'echad odi likrat kalai, yalalai, 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 B'nei Shabbat, nekabela, yalalai, yalalai, L'echad odi likrat kalai, yalalai, 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 B'nei Shabbat, nekabela, likrat Shabbat, L'chua v'nelcha, Ki mekor hameracha merosh mikadem nesucha sof maaseh b'machashava techila alecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela ay 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 alecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela Dash melech hira melucha kumitzei mitoch hafecha rav lach shevet b'yemek hamacha vehu yachamol ala ayichem la alecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela yalalai yalalai alecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela Itnari meyafar kumi livshi bideiti fartechami al yad ben yishai beit halachmi kurba al nafshi ge'alah lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela ay 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 lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela hitoreri kiva ore kumi ori Uri uri shir daberi kevod Adonai Allah ayeknigla alecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela ay 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 lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela Yalla la yalla la la yalla la yalla la la yalla la yalla la 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 yalla la yalla la la yalla la 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 yalla la yalla la 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 Lecha dodi ay 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 likrat kala B'nei Shabbat, ay 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 nekabela. Lo tevo shive, lo tikalami, ma tishtochachi umatemi. Bacha yechesu ani eyami v'nivneta ir alatilach. Lecha dodi, ay 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 likrat kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. V'hayulim shisa shoasayich v'rachaku kol meval'ayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimsos chatan alakala. Lecha dodi, ay 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 likrat kala. B'nei Shabbat, ay 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 nekabela. Yaminu smo tiferot ziviat Adonai ta'aritzi al yadish ben parzi venis mecha benagila. Lecha dodi, ay 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 likrat kala. B'nei Shabbat, ay 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 nekabela. בואי בשלומה, תראה בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמונה, עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה. פני שבת, איי 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 נקבלה. Please be seated and Shabbat Shalom. The Shabbat bride just joined us, page 22. We're going to continue with the Psalm for Shabbat, page 23. Mizmor shir leyom ha-Shabbat tov leodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon ulezamer l'shimcha elyon להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי אסור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון בכינור מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. נשבר לי את זה. צדיק אתה המר יפרח כארז בלבנון יסגד שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עד ינובון בסבב דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולתה בו. אדוני מלך אלוהים. מכל הדמיים מים רבים אדירים משפרי ים אדיר במרום אדוני עדותיך נאמנו מאוד לביתך נב הקודש אדוני לאורך ימים. Those in mourning or observing your yard say, please rise for Kaddish Yatom at the bottom of page 24. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah v'yalma divara kirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevarach olam omei omaya Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata damiran me'olma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. And that concludes our Kabbalat Shabbat service. We'll continue with Mariv in a minute, but Shabbat shalom to everyone. And when I got here at about 5:30, I turned to Damona and I said, there are not going to be any rabbis here today, right? And he goes, yeah, there aren't going to be any rabbis here today. And this is usually when they talk, which I will do, but briefly. I had forgotten about that. But the good news is I'm a Baal Koreh here, which means I do the Torah reading. So I actually know what the Torah portion is about every week because I have to, right? So that works out well. So we actually have a double portion that if you are at a shul that does the full Kriya, it's a real nightmare for the Baal Koreh because it's got 244 verses, way longer than anything else that would be done during the year. The portions are called Matot and Maseh. And the one that we're going to read from tomorrow is Parshat Maseh. And Maseh, for those of you that know Hebrew, if you know the word linsoa, it means like to travel. I think in Israel, I think they use it to drive as well, but like to travel generally. Okay, so what is Parshat Maseh about? We know that Torah portions are named after the first words, but it just so happens that it begins with Ve'eleh Maseh. These are the journeys of, and you go on from there. And it's interesting because I was at a funeral or a Shiva minyan this past Sunday of somebody, and the rabbi was talking about this very parsha. And if you read it, it really just says, and the Israelites, they started at point A and they went to point B. They started at point B and they went to point C. And then point C, point D, and it goes to like probably double H or something. It goes on forever. It's about a stop a year, and the number of years is 38. Because remember, the Jews were told to wander in the desert for 40 years. This is the last 38 of them after the incident with the spies a few weeks back in Parshat Shalach Lecha. So, and the funny thing is, if you look at it, it just says they went from point A to point B to point C. We don't know anything about point B. We don't know anything about point C or D or E or any of the others, really, with very, very few exceptions. All we know is we went from here to there, we stopped, I guess we stuck around a little while, and then we went from there to there. Doesn't that sound a lot like our weeks? I mean, you wake up on Monday morning, it's like, oh, we got to go to work again, and then you start, and then you have appointments, you have this to do, you have that to do, you try and get your personal stuff done, you try and get your work stuff done, and you just run around like a chicken with your head cut off all week. And then you get to Shabbat. By the way, as I'm sure you all know, the end of the story for the Jews eventually is a good one. They get to the promised land, right? That happens. Doesn't happen in this week's portion. But the goal is for us to reach our promised land every Friday night. Get as much as you can get done during the week. Be productive from Sunday morning to Friday afternoon, and then relax. Enjoy God's creation as God did on the seventh day. If he rested, you too can rest. And that's, so I think this parsha is very fitting when thinking about Shabbat generally. We are now going to light the candles. Actually, I am now going to light the candles. And then we'll say the prayer together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Again, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Take a second, if you will, either on Zoom or in person. If you want to say hi to somebody you don't know yet, turn around or talk to the people that are next to you. Say a quick hello, and we'll pick up here in a second. Good news for those of you on Zoom. We have a minyan. There are people. There are friends hugging in the back of the chapel, and people, family members, and friends. So,
Shabbat Shalom.
And yes, we do have a minyan. So please rise as we begin the Mariv service, page 28, with the Baruch Hu, with the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Baruch Adonai. Umavir yom u'mevi laila. Umavdil ben yom ben laila Adonai tzevaot shemo El chaya v'kayam תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבים. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ויארך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ויארך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ויארך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ויארך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. באהבתך אל תסר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. מי אהבת את אדוני אלוהיך, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם על לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך, ויין שמותים ומצוות השנות. Adonai Elohechem Emet. We're on page 32. Umalchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe v'nei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha b'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norat tehilot osef eleh Malchutecha ra'u v'necha Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe Zeli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed V'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov U'gyalom yad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Gal Yisrael Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom Amidinu Makar. Ushmor tzeitin v'oin l'chaim u'l'shalom et aviad olam uv'ros al sukat shlomecha baruch atah Adonai aporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael me'al Yerushalayim. Please rise. We continue with V'shamru on page 34. After that, with a minyan here, we will continue with Chatzi Kaddish at the bottom of the page, and then we'll turn to the silent Mariv Amidah, pages 35 through 38. But we'll begin with V'shamru on page 34. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asod et ha-Shabbat L'dorotam berit olam Ay, ay, ay Beini uvein bnei Yisrael Oti le'olam Ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim et haaretz uvayom hashvihi Shabbat vayinafash Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabab Yamad kirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon v'yomechon V'chayedecho beit Yisrael Ba'gala Uv'izman kariv v'meru amen Yeheshmei ba'mevorach Li'olam li'amei almayah Yiparach, Yiparach, Vishtabach, Vipar, Vitamam, Vinase, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemede Kudsha, Brechu, Le'elamin, Kobirchata, Veshirata, Tushbechata, Venechemata, Tamihira, Miholema, Vimeru, Amen. If you're still reciting the silent Amidah, please continue at your own pace. Before we continue with what is called the mini repetition of the Amidah, I'm wondering, for those of you that are here, if there is somebody that would be willing, like this nice 8-year-old boy was a couple weeks ago when I was last here, to hand out, we don't have any 8-year-olds in the room, but if somebody would be willing to pour the grape juice and hand out to everybody in the room, if that's okay. Thank you, Jack. Okay. Now, don't overpour. We want to make sure people get home safely, but that's fine. Okay, very good. So we will continue in the meantime, and that way everybody here will be ready for Kiddush. But we'll continue at the top of page 47. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa Vayevarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi'i Vayekadesh oto Ki vo shavat mikol melachto Ki vo shavat mikol melachto Asher bara Elohim la'asot Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Konei Shamayim v'Haaretz. You may be seated. Magen Avot Bidevaro Mechaye Metim B'Ma'amaro Ha'el HaKadosh Ein Kamohu Hameniach Le'amo B'Yom Shabbat Kodesho Ki Bam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem Ki Bam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem Lefanav navod b'yirav v'pachad v'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid mi'on habarachot. El haodaot Adon hashalom mekadesh hashabat marech shvi Umeniach bikdusha liamedu shnei oneg zecher lemaaseh v'reishit Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ritzei avim nuchatenu kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha V'teina chalkeinu b'toratecha Sabenu mituvecha V'samchenu b'shuatecha V'taher libeinu li'ovdecha be'emet V'hanchileinu Adonai Eloheinu Bi'ahava u'v'ratzon Shabbat kodshecha V'yanuchu v'Yisrael Mekadeshei shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Please rise for Kaddish Shalem, followed by Kiddush, pages 48 and 49. Yekirav Hashem Mei Rabab Yamari V'Rakidu Tevi Yamich Malchutei B'chai Echon V'Yamechon B'chai Yedechol Beit Yisrael Bagalav Izman Kari V'Imru Amen Yehish Mei Rabab Mevorach Li'olam Li'olam Me'olam Mayam Yiparach Yiparach v'ishtabach v'par v'tramam v'itnaseh v'itadar v'itala shmei kudsha brichu leila mincho birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nagamata damiran bi'alma v'imru amen tikabal tzloton v'alton d'cho Yisrael kodam avon v'shmaya v'imru amen yesh lam rabba min shemaya v'chayim al Rabbi Ya'akov Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'mramav Hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'Ya'akov Yisrael v'yimeru Amen. Savrim Arnam Rabbanam Rabbatai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu V'shabbat kodsho b'yahavav ratzon inchilanu Zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen l'chaim. Okay. Please remain standing for the Aleinu, page 51. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהונות השמיים יוסר הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו ידעת היום השבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. Please be seated. As I mentioned earlier, Friday was the first of the month of Av. Today, now the second of Av. And this week, we note the recent death of David Siegel, son of Mimi Siegel and Dr. Lawrence Cohen, the brother of Aaron Siegel and Shayna Siegel, Flash and Jeffrey Flash, uncle to Zachary, Brandon, and Jacqueline, stepbrother of Simone, Jennifer, and Scott, and having many cousins in the Filsoof and Siegel families, and we certainly wish them complete healing and try and give them the support that they need. We also observe the Shloshim period of Harry William Kartaz, father of Gail Prince, We also mark the yard sites of Victor Bates, grandfather of Jill Bates, Jane Fryer, mother of Matthew Fryer, Keith Fryer, and Sharon Oxman, Irving Max Galanti, the father of Ellen Galanti Williams, Sam Karp, the father of Marcia Rosenfeld, Sharon Cohen, the sister of Joel Goldstein, Philip Quatnitz, the father to Marty and Mildred Quatnitz, and Herman Peskin, the brother-in-law of Betty Peskin. Did I omit any names? We now ask those who are in mourning or observing a yard site to please rise and join together in memory of your loved ones. Kadisha Tome, page 52. Yit Gadal, V'yit Gadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma Divara Kirute, V'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon, V'yomechon, B'chayei, Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala, Uvizman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah, Mevarach, V'olam, V'almei, Almaya. Yiparach, V'yishtabach, V'yipa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei D'Kudusha, Le'ela min kol birchata, V'shirata, Tush b'chata, V'nechemata, Damiran b'yoma, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, V'chaim aleinu, V'yal kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, b'imru, amen. You may be seated. So Shabbat shalom, everyone. We are nearing quickly the end of our service. I guess there's nobody, Yasher Koach to Jack on handing out the wine, and to Damon back there, our AV technician. Not going to give much in the way of announcements. Tomorrow's services are at 9:30. Rabbi Bluston will be back for those. If I'm not mistaken from my vantage point, it looks like he may have lucked out a little better than we thought. The weather is not looking too bad out there right now, is that right? It's not like pouring or raining. Okay, well, good. Okay, so hopefully Rabbi Bluston and his crowd over there at Candler Park actually managed to stay dry. Let's hope so. But he'll be here in the morning, and he and I will be leading services tomorrow at 9:30. There is Mincha, Mariv, Havdalah tomorrow online. Still at 8:30 for one more week before we start the sun moving back in the other direction there. As I mentioned earlier, we have Tisha B'Av services next Saturday night. Those will be live, whereas tomorrow night it's only virtual. It'll be live. There will be the reading of the Megillat Eicha, and then again a gathering on Sunday morning with some study groups. Traditional, one of the only other sundown to sundown fast day other than Yom Kippur on the Jewish calendar. Gail Solomon would be terribly upset if I didn't mention the blood drive that is this Sunday here at AA from, at least I believe it's at AA. I don't think that it changed for protocol. So as far as I know, it's at AA from 9 to 2. Give your blood. We can always use more blood. So we'll leave it at that. Let's conclude our service on page 13 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitichem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Have a good evening.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you, Jordan.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Thank you, Jordan. Yes,
Jordan, that was the most
You did great, Jordan.
fabulous.
It was a fabulous service, Jordan.
Full of energy.
We'll try and make it more
Shabbat
depressing next
shalom,
week.
everyone. And
Ron,
Yashikov.
Travis, Stacy,
Joshua,